Hey everyone, I've got a bit of a confession to make, and it's all about budgets. So basically, every funding application needs a budget, because part of asking for money is saying, how much money do you want? And then being able to justify, this is why I want as much money as I do. The trouble is, when you're starting a project, you don't want to have to go through the full research on actually figuring out exactly how much this costs and that costs, because you want to get a vague ballpark idea to go, is this something we can reasonably apply for, and what level and category of funding are we actually going to put forward? And so I do what's called a back-of-the-napkin sort of budget, where basically we estimate the numbers based on, okay, well this will surely be about this, and this will surely be about this, and this will surely be about this. Now, because Fiona and I have been working so long on this funding application, I did that back-of-the-napkin budget about a year ago, and only realised last week that I had lost it. So, tip one from my experiences of going through this big summer funding application, doing all these bids, when you do those back-of-the-napkin numbers, have a Word document somewhere where you have noted them down, or an Excel spreadsheet, or a screenshot or a photograph, whatever you want to do. Make sure you have it down somewhere, because I basically had to recreate the budget. Now, actually recreating the budget wasn't too big a deal at the end of the day, largely because it was kind of something that had to be done anyway. Basically, any funding application that you do, you're probably going to be in a situation where you're asked to provide industry rate. And what industry rate means is that there is a given number that you are expected to reach. Now, a lot of the time with some of these numbers, they're described as this is a minimum, but a minimum for these kind of things is a little bit like the speed limit when you're driving. You want to be hitting about that number as a kind of given rule of thumb for an application, unless you can justify that normally you get paid this much more amount of money, or normally this organisation charges this much more amount of money. But unless you can do that, you're going to take those numbers. Those numbers are all available based on what the equivalent artist union is. So if you're an actor, that might be Equity or Bec2. If you're a producer like me, that'll be ITC. There is a whole list of numbers out there, which I will not provide, because if you're watching this in England, it'll be a completely different set of numbers, and obviously if you're watching internationally, it will be a completely different set of numbers, and possibly a different system altogether. The overall point is, make sure that whatever number you're putting in those budgets, you have a source where you can say, I got this number because of this. And even going as far as defining, this is the number of hours I intend to work. So for example, I've budgeted for 7 full days of me working on Fion's project. That's not to say that I'm only going to be involved for a week. It's more to say that I will be involved for 56 hours, which means for the equivalent of about an hour per day for 56 days, I will be available at the end of a phone to help with any admin issues that come up or need doing. So there is a bit of wiggle room, there is a bit of figuring out, but you have to be able to justify all those numbers, and you have to keep where those numbers are around somewhere where you can find them later. It is a bit annoying, but the good news is that once you have those numbers, you have those numbers. And you can go back to exactly the same link and pull it out and say, here's the number. So hopefully you won't have to do it again. Hope that was useful stuff. Hope you will find it slightly easier than I have doing this process. And hopefully, next time I speak to you, this project, this funding application that Fiona and I have been working on for so long will finally be in.